Hello, you're welcome to Africa Weekly. Developments are moving fast in Burkina Faso. We will continue our discussions on the political developments in that country on this edition of the program. Other issues of development across the continent are also in the menu. My name is Justin Bemunye and I welcome you to the program Africa Weekly. Now, following ECOWAS suspension, the African Union has followed suit. But the military junta appears to be going ahead with his agenda as he has restored the constitution with him as the head of government without announcing a time frame for the transition to civilian rule.
A week after taking over, Burkina Faso's military government says it has restored the constitution and has appointed the coup leader as head of state for a transitional period. The statement did not give a timeline for the transition period, but formally identified coup leader Lieutenant Colonel Paul Harrison Dogo Damiba as president. The role also encompasses President of Burkina Faso, head of state, and supreme leader of the armed forces. In a statement read on television, the military government announced it had approved a fundamental act that lifts the suspension of the constitution, a move that had been declared after the January 24 coup. The 37-article document guarantees independence of the judiciary and presumption of innocence, as well as basic liberties spelled out in the constitution, such as freedom of movement and freedom of speech. This move came shortly after the African Union suspended Burkina Faso for the takeover and diplomats from West Africa and the United Nations pressed demands for a return to civilian rule.
Now, joining us in the studio to take a deeper look at this issue is an international affairs analyst and politician. He's Dr. Garba Nguru. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Weekly.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we're looking at political developments across Africa, and particularly the development in Burkina Faso. Why should we be worried over these developments in that country?
Thank you very much. The Burkina Faso issue is really so alarming, considering the fact that this is the fourth coup that took place in Africa in just 11 months. The way things are going, if you look at it, it is not easy to contend with. The Dingba led coup, which accused the Kabore of not contending the security situation of the country, it is not enough reason to go for the coup. But since the African Union have taken their steps to see how they can control or man the situation in Burkina Faso, I think everything will be in order. The African entirely, not only West Africa, need to step up and bring an end to this issue of coup that is every day bringing down our democracy. It is really a problem.
There is the fear of gradual slide to return of military rule in West Africa. Why is this happening in the region, taking into consideration that Guinea-Bissau also had an attempted coup recently?
It is now left for the leaders to come to a stake and find a solution to this problem. Otherwise, this thing will just continue gradually. If everyone will just pick a reason, whether it is a genuine or not, to topple a government, I think this is not something to joke with. If you look at what is happening now, all these places that you have these coups, up to now there are problems. None of them is restoring anything. All the security situation and other things is a shambles. So this issue is not something to accept any reason from anybody anymore.
Now, would you say the African Union and the ECOWAS are not doing enough to discourage this trend after the incident in Mali and Guinea, as you rightly said?
Honestly, even if they are doing enough, but I think they have to put more effort on this issue. They have to put more effort, because at the end of it is just to suspend a country. That African Union suspend this, ECOWAS, that is not the issue. When there is issue like this, they need to step up, make sure that they take over. In fact, I think the days of coup in Africa is gone already. I don't know why it is coming back now. So the issue of suspending the countries and later on you bring them back. In Burkina Faso, they said until the constitution is restored. So they now restore the constitution, so which means the African Union will accept them back. And I don't think it is a very good idea.
In your opinion, what stringent measures would you advise that should be taken in this regard?
What I will advise, the African Union should come together and then come to a stand and give a reasons that anything short of this, if you topple any government, the African Union will step in to make sure you are ousted out. So that is, I think, what African Union is supposed to do. All this issue of we suspend A, B, C, it doesn't even arise. But they need to come out with a guideline so that if anything short of this come out of a coup, the Africa will come together to make sure they ousted out that.
Okay, Dr. Ngurubu, just before I let you go, what do you think are the implications of this development?
For all West Africa countries, we have security challenges. The government are trying their best, but the issue is that, you know, human beings, when we have problem, we want it to go at it, and it can't go at a particular point you want. It is a gradual process. The problem of insecurity in this country today, people are complaining, and they have right to complain. But I know what the government is doing on the ground is beyond our imagination. They are trying their best. If not, this thing would have consumed us. If you look at it within these 6 years or 7 years of this administration, the issue of Boko Haram, which is the most dangerous, is defeated to almost 80%. But today, if you look at it, the issue of Boko Haram is contained in one part of the country. Even in one part, I can tell you the capital of Borno State and Yobe State is very safe. There are so many local governments that are safe. You can go there freely. But before, even in Abuja here, everyone was on a red alert. But I'm sure the government is doing everything possible. If you look at it, it is not something, security issues is not something you come out and publicize. It is something that needs an action on the ground. And where there is need, you can bring it open, but only the action. You don't need to talk. And this is exactly what is happening.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Nguru. I really appreciate your time with us on the program, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is Africa Weekly. The program continues with the tidbit segment. Now, Kenya is expanding its livestock development initiatives as a way of improving its agricultural base to foster economic growth.
The erratic weather patterns have affected fodder production, which has affected production of livestock products such as milk. As part of its efforts to increase milk production, Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization Director General Dr. Eliud Kireger says the improved dairy cow breeds, which are a crossbreed between the indigenous Sahiwal and the exotic Frisian, fit within the nomadic pastoral system of production that is dominant in the regions.
Train farmers on the use of AI, artificial insemination, so that the material can be able to go across all the farming communities.
Dr. Kireger said climate change has affected the feed and fodder situation in arid and semi-arid regions where during droughts, livestock is lost.
A lot of the livestock the dairy livestock that are kept in the high potential areas are the imported European breeds like the Holstein Friesians, the Ayrshire, the Jersey, the Guernsey. But in the arid and semi-arid areas, those kind of animals don't do very well.
He is encouraging pastoralists to keep fewer animals, but with higher milk or meat production potential.
Most of our farmers are yet to embrace the issue of intensive dairy farming.
They were speaking during a training of trainers workshop for extension officers from the counties of Kwale, Kilifi, Narok, Samburu and Nyamira.
Still in Kenya, efforts to speed up recovery from impact of COVID-19 has necessitated the government to pay more attention to its local industries in a new strategy to revive its industrialization drive.
According to the 24th edition of the Kenya Economic Update by the World Bank, from recovery to better jobs, growth has been supported by rebounds in industry and especially services, with overall economic performance expected to rebound to about 4.9% this year and next year. Kenya is focusing on self-sufficiency and exports-led economy recovery, as well as attracting investments, especially in the digital and services sector, to help accelerating adoption of technology.
The rollout of ICT, the integration into more global value chains, and e-government is going to help us a lot more in recovering and ensuring that this recovery is leads to shared growth.
Local enterprises, including MSMEs, are reinventing themselves to fill the gap left by the disruption of global supply chains that starved manufacturers of key raw materials and supplies and negatively affected output.
COVID-19 exposed massive inadequacies and weaknesses in existing national and regional and global responses to such pandemics. It therefore means that all of us must work, including your international organizations and all our different countries. We all must work collectively to develop lasting responses to the current and future pandemics and to ensure minimal economic disruptions in the event of future pandemics.
Further, Industrialization and Trade Cabinet Secretary Betty Minor says their efforts to use technological innovations to address other challenges the country has been grappling with, such as drought, flooding and pest invasion. She says there's need to address the socio-economic gap that feeds the digital divide. She made the remarks during the WTO panel discussion on the role of trade in developing countries' road to recovery that was held virtually.
Now, Africa's pride is in her cultural roots. At a recent visit to Egypt by Nigeria's information minister, his Egyptian counterpart was optimistic that if properly harnessed, African countries reap substantial revenues from tourists visiting historical sites in the continent.
Having briefed Dr. Hisham Azmi of the rich cultural endowment of Nigeria, Lai Mohammed was particular about how Egypt has successfully turned its cultural heritage to a huge revenue earner for the country. He pointed out that Nigeria is equally on the path, hence the present administration's commitment towards diversifying its economy. Responding, Dr. Hisham enumerated areas of the Egyptian culture which his country has consistently leveraged on to ensure that the unity of the country is not compromised. Recalling the security challenges the country has to contend with, he maintained that the Egyptian culture has remained a rallying point and a tool for progress. At another engagement with the Minister of Communication and Information Technology, the menace of social media was discussed, where Lai Mohammed briefed his host on a number of efforts the Nigerian government has made to sanitize the social media ecosystem, citing the ban on Twitter and other reforms which are still ongoing. The Egyptian minister, Amr Talat, applauded the courage of the Nigerian government, saying such moves are sure ways sanity can prevail. At the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, it was more like coasting home to victory on moves to repatriate stolen artifacts from Nigeria. The Egyptian Minister for Tourism and Antiquities told Lai Mohammed that Egypt will assist Nigeria in putting up a mechanism that will help preserve looted artifacts from Nigeria when they are returned, assuring that they are ready to deploy their wealth of experience in that regard, maintaining that 30% of the country's GDP is earned from tourism.
We can put you in contact as well with the Ministry of Higher Education, with the tourism sector. We have, I think, more than 12 faculties in tourism and hotel management and tour guides. So I think that we can serve as link with the Ministry of Higher Education to support you in this field.
With an invitation extended to Lai Mohammed and heads of agencies under his ministry to attend the forthcoming conference on antiquities scheduled for June this year, Lai Mohammed, while accepting the invitation, promised to deepen the collaboration.
We signed a treaty, an agreement with the US to ensure that when stolen artifacts dating between 1500 BC and the New York Metropolitan Museum has just returned 4 of our very valuable artwork. So we've embarked on a very aggressive pursuit.
Okay.
In company of the minister during his engagements in Cairo are the Director General Nigerian Television Authority, Malam Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, the Director General Radio Nigeria, Malam Mansur Liman, the Director General NBC, Malam Shehu Balarabe Ilela, and the Nigerian Ambassador to Egypt, Noura Abarimi.
Rwanda has announced that its main border with Uganda, closed in 2019, will reopen. Cross-border movement of people and goods at the Katuna border was halted following tensions between the two East African nations.
Rwanda on Monday reopened its land border with Uganda after a 3-year closure, signaling a thaw in relations between the two East African neighbors. The frontier had been closed in February 2019 as political tensions between Kigali and Kampala spiraled, leading to the near collapse of two-way trade. Rwanda announced its decision to reopen the border last week as a step towards repairing ties that had been soured by various rival accusations of espionage, abductions, and meddling. It followed a visit to Kigali by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni's son, Muhizi Kainerugaba, where he met Rwandan President Paul Kagame. The main Katuna crossing post, known as Katuna in Uganda, officially reopened at midnight Monday.
So everyone in Gatuna, in Uganda, on our side, please kindly come and do business. I would wish to draw to your attention the communique of the Rwanda government about the reopening of this border. The second last paragraph states it very clearly that the border operations will reopen just like all the other land borders of Rwanda and Uganda, and actually with the other countries, are doing. What is emphasized therein is that priority is given to cargo trucks. Regarding the humans, we follow the East African COVID protocols.
Museveni and Kagame were close allies in the 1980s and 90s during struggles for power in their respective countries, but relations turned deeply hostile. Rwanda shut the frontier after accusing Uganda of abducting its citizens and supporting rebels seeking to topple Kagame. Uganda, in turn, accused Rwanda of spying as well as killing 2 men during an incursion into Ugandan territory in 2019, a claim Kigali denied. Both governments said last week they hoped the border reopening could contribute to the normalization of ties.
The issue of Uganda and Rwanda is beyond really the ambit of the Minister of Region of East African, affairs. In my own view, that's the perception I have, And I think when the players are ready to ensure that the things start moving normally, nothing may happen.
Before the closure, Ugandan exports to Rwanda, which are predominantly cement and food, totaled more than $211 million in 2018, according to World Bank figures, while Rwanda exported $30 million worth of goods to Uganda. However, trade plummeted in 2019, with the situation further exacerbated by the COVID-19 crisis.
Now that's our package this week on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of it. My name is Justin Bemo.